Okay, my new project. This one's a little different again. It's another stick project, but it's not a repair. Um, the stick itself doesn't need any work done to it. I bought it on eBay recently because I already have a matching stick for starters. Um, and because this one is new, never been used, but because of storage and maybe somebody wanted to use it but didn't like the colors, so they did some things to it. But the white is all faded, discolored, and some of the color, accent color, has been like markered over or tried to be washed off or something. So I'll flip the camera around. I'm going to give you an example of what I'm working with and what it actually looks like when it looks right, because I have a good one that matches. Okay, so here's the two sticks. The top one is my good one that I use every now and then. The bottom one is the one I just got on eBay. And as you can see, the white is discolored on the paddle. On this side, someone has like markered over some of the neon green. I don't know why you'd do that to such a cool looking stick. And then if I flip them over, you can see that this side is really bad. Like someone tried to wash it off, I'm not sure. But looking at the blade, you can tell it's never been used. It's perfect. No sidewalks, no basements or anything. I guess it could have been taped up, but doesn't look really at all. Even the toe looks really good. So this side here has been all scrubbed off by somebody. Okay, so the plan is I'm going to strip it down quite a bit to get rid of some of the colors that are on there, clean it off. I'll do some masking off of like the lower part of the shaft, or paddle, I mean, and the heel and blade, so that I don't paint on them. And then I've already done up a mock-up on my computer for what I want to make it look like. I'm gonna need some paints, so I'll run to the store and get some paints after I clean it up. And then I'll go over the process I plan on following. I'm going to use some vinyl templates I'm going to make. I've already done all my measurements and recreated all the graphics that need to be on it. I'm going to do all the graphics the same way, just in the new colors. Shaft is all sanded. I don't think you have to go all the way down to natural wood like I did. I just really wanted to get the darker colors off and the bad paints. Get it clear, but I decided to go all the way down with it. Next, we're going to do this part, but if you notice, this is a fiberglass wrap that's been painted. It's actually screened on. We don't want to sand that off because we don't want to get rid of that fiberglass. So I'm going to set up and show you the trick that I think is going to work. I've used it to clean things before, similar to this, and I think it'll do the trick. So I'll set up for that and show you. Okay. So I think the secret ingredient is going to be Goo Gone, and I'm going to use my mouse sander, but I've put a blue Scotch-Brite pad, and we are going to put a little, this is the gel kind, so it's not as liquidy, although it's warm, so it looks like it's not coming out in too much of a gel. And spray a little bit of that on there and let it sit for a minute. And then I'll probably let it sit for a couple of minutes, maybe 5, and then come over it with the sander that has the blue Scotch-Brite. All right, it's been a few minutes. See if I can do this with one hand and not have the stick get away from me. Well, that doesn't seem to have done much at all. a little bit lighter. Got rid of some of the dark inside of the, yeah, just a little bit. So I'm gonna go back to the chemical pile and see what else I can find. So I figure I'll just go right to the good stuff. This stuff works really well. I'm gonna go light with it. Not gonna use a whole lot. I'm gonna use the scrub brush to get into the grooves. After a little while, after I let it sit, wipe it clean. Wear latex gloves. Vinyl nitrile is better. The latex works for a while and then it starts to heat up. So I'll give this a try. I'm gonna spray it on, let it sit a couple minutes, and then scrub and clean. Well, I let it sit for just a little while and it scrubs right off of there. So now I'm going to clean this off as best as I can and then get some water and scrub it clean. And then it'll have to dry anyways. So set it out in the sunlight. And so here it is. All the graphics are gone off the paddle. That's all I was concerned with. Just not having to paint over the darker colors. And I'm going to set it out in the sun to dry off. I've washed it off to get all the chemical off it. Set it in the sun to dry, then come back in a little while and start on the first paint. Okay, so it's all dry. It's all stripped down good enough, and I've covered up the heel and blade so I won't get any paint on that. And first thing I'm going to do, because of the color pattern, and I'll put a picture up inside the video here, I'm going to go with an all white color to start with, full white coating, and then I'll add my layers of color from there. So a couple coats of white have been applied, all within an hour time frame. I'm gonna let that sit for an hour or two so that it'll become, the way this paint works is you can handle it after about an hour. I'll give it a little more than that. And then I'll apply one of my first graphic templates and do the next colors. It's been almost 2 hours. It's still a little too tacky to touch, so I've moved it inside. Gonna let it dry, and then I'll come back to the project tomorrow night. But I did work on all of the graphics, the vinyl templates I'm going to use for the shaft. I have the graphic done for the paddle, but I haven't cut it yet, so I'll show you that now. The graphics for the shaft. So that's these right here. This is one long continuous template, and you'll see, because I'm gonna, everywhere there's the black text is gonna end up staying white, and where the area around, not the black outline, the area inside the black outline is going to be another color. And so when I put these on, this will leave the lettering to be the white of the shaft, and that's this part here. So I'm going to leave mine white just like this is, but instead of black I'm going to have a different color for that border. And then that one there is kind of the opposite. The black will stay white, and the clear area, the white area on there, the letters, will be a solid color just like this is. But it'll be a different color. And then the SuperLight SL, same type of thing. I'm going to have white letters and a colored background. So tomorrow I'll get back to it and start putting those templates on so I can paint the shaft, and then the blade or the paddle will be last. Okay, it's the next day. The white base is all set, and now I'm going to start applying my vinyl templates to do the colored paints. So I'll flip the camera around, and I've got both sticks laying side by side. I can use that as kind of a eyeball template for where I put these vinyl pieces. So here's a bunch of my vinyl, and you can see the stick. I've got the sticks in the same direction, so I put everything on the right way so I don't do something like that. I am doing 2-color on the Cooper logo on the paddle. In fact, the paddle is going to be a different color as well, so you'll see. I'll show you how I'm going to do that with the plan anyway. And then on this side, we've got a big Cooper logo. The shaft is going to remain white. The graphics will be a color. And this one will go here. So I'm going to get those applied on all sides of my stick. And then I'll video again. I can't find my tripod adapter. Otherwise I'd do a time-lapse type of thing and just keep it recording. So it'll be a lot of fades from one section to the next. Okay, most of the templates are applied, but I've come across a situation where I'm going to have to change my plan. And I forgot, well, I didn't forget. I must have left it inside where I don't know, where I misplaced it. I have an opposite side of this one for the other side of the stick. Basically, the biggest difference is the gap, because the text is going the other direction. But in the meantime, while I'm looking for that and then dealing with the rest of the top part, there's supposed to be this outline all the way around this part here, so that the inner part of the outline will paint a color and the text will stay white when I peel the black removable vinyl off. I'm going to redo that concept. I'm going to peel this right off. I left it on while I was putting it on because that was my spacing and alignment for where everything matched up. I did each one of those as a separate piece. And I'll probably peel, I'll leave this one on these, and then I'll use tape for the edge on the other ones, painter's tape. But I'm going to go ahead and paint the paddle first, because the paddle is going to be a 2-color paint process. The paddle is going to be red, and then if we can close up on here, you'll see there's a cutout inside of the letters. Once I paint the whole thing red, I'll peel the inside of the letters off, mask off the outside of everything outside of the remaining mask, and paint the inside of the letters a different color. Then the outline will be white, whereas over here the outline is black with green inside. So that's the plan. I'm going to go ahead and mask off the top of here so that I can paint the paddle. Okay, so there's a couple of coats of red paint, nice and even, right over top of that graphic. Again, I'm going to peel the insides of those letters out next, then tape off all of the red. I'll use paper like this, probably. And then the inside of the letters will be blue, and the outside outline color will be white. So I'm going to let this dry. May not be able to keep going tonight because that's a big surface area, and I'll have to do some cover up there when I get to the next part. So I may have to finish tomorrow. So just a little sneak peek. Wanted to come out here while the red was still a bit tacky, because I wanted to peel the insides of the Cooper logos, remembering that I outline cut it. Wanted to peel the insides while the paint was still a little tacky, because there was not much. It's not an outside edge at those letters, it's an inside edge. And so I wanted to catch that before the paint got really, dry and hard on top of the vinyl, in hopes of being able to peel it clean. And as you can see, I did. Now you'll see there's a few spots where there's a little bit of a nick in the white there. That's from my razor blade, because I had to like kind of dig into the vinyl to get it to get something to grab onto. There's a few spots. That's okay, because the white area that you're seeing right now is actually going to end up being blue, and the dark red edge under, that's the vinyl. Under that is still pure white, so it's going to be red, pure white edge, blue lettering. And I really think that came out pretty nice. It's a good clean edge on that. So I'm gonna obviously let this finish drying. So now I'm gonna mask this off around this outer perimeter. I got plenty of room to work with to get my tape edge. So I'm gonna mask that off with some more tape and some paper, mask off the entire paddle, and hit the white letters there with some color. And Doug's probably gonna help me or be in my way. Okay, just showing how I've masked it off around the vinyl stencil. Making sure to get all the little divots of the outline overlapping onto the vinyl that's there, just making sure that all of the white is available for paint. You don't want any of the tape over the white, because the white is what we're painting. Doesn't have to look all that pretty, just has to do the job. And there's the other side. I might have to put one little tiny piece right there. In fact, I have some little scrap that'll work, just to make sure I don't get a bleed over there of the blue paint I'm going to use here. There's a spot I missed. That's why I cut the spares. And there's a spot I missed. Boy, I wasn't really paying attention at all, was I? But I did this review. Okay. Now that's all good. Now I'll just finish masking off the rest of it, the paddle. Probably use paper and tape. And then I'll hit it with the blue. Okay, all masked off. And ready for the lettering paint. Okay, so a few light coats of paint. Filling in the letters, the inside of the letters. Let this sit probably about an hour, maybe a little more, till it's tacky or dry to the touch, not tacky. And then I want to peel it. I don't want to let that paint cure all the way before I peel it. But I want it to be dry enough that any paint that's on the tape or the paper doesn't get smeared all over the place, all over me or all over other parts of the project. So this paint tends to dry pretty well in about an hour, and then I'll unmask it all. Peeled away all the masking tape, paint tape, and now we're down to just the vinyl stencil. And I will gently remove those pieces now, so that I don't make any marks on the painted surface behind them, hopefully. And there we go, with all the masking removed, including the outer outline, which was my vinyl. Up close, detail-wise, didn't seem to hold its edge on that surface as well as I thought it would, but this is the fiberglass face of the paddle, and so it's textured, and I think maybe I should have rubbed on the vinyl a little tighter, but I'm not sure that would have helped a whole lot either, because all the little divots So there are a few small areas where there's some bleed, but overall not too shabby at all. Actually kind of dig it. It's cool. So hopefully later this evening, if the weather holds up, I'll move on to working on the shaft and finishing that up. There's red and blue going up there as well. So I'm all ready to keep moving on to the shaft. I've untaped everything, unmasked all the paper. And one thing that I have to change a little bit is how I have these outlines. So the paint here is going to be, where the white is right now will be a color. And then the letters I'll peel off and they'll be white still. Over here, same type of thing. And when you compare the sticks side by side, you see there's a dark, basically background, real long rectangular shape. And you can still see white of the edges of this edge of the stick. So I had originally built in like some black trim here, and I've removed that, and I've trimmed this one here, which I'll have to trim a little bit more. I guess technically I don't have to. I'll just add on an edge with my paint tape, and I'll make these edges along this side with tape until I get up here and put my edge across here as well. Then I'll mask off everything I need to be left white, which is basically just the top, and the back side, this side here, will stay white, and so that'll get masked off as well. I also found my other graphic I was missing, which means I can install that and that as my templates on this side of the stick before I start painting. And there's going to be a couple of different colors involved here, so I'll do them in phases. I'll get everything all set and masked off, taped off, and then I'll from there I'll block off one half and do one color, and then let that dry and remove that and move on. So that'll be next. Okay, I've got all the graphics, all the templates there for the shaft, all masked off. All the edges and corners are masked off. My outline edge, the text is a little off center, but I can't do anything about that now unless I start over. So make sure that's not covering the E. That's good. And the back side's taped off as well. And so there's going to be some red and some blue here. So I'll cover up parts of it that I don't want painted. And, you know, whatever color I'm going to do first. And then come back and swap that around and do the last color. So one coat applied to all the areas that I want to be blue. You can see I masked right over top of the Cooper letters here because they're going to end up being red. Let that sit a little bit and put another coat on. Okay, so the blues had a couple hours to start curing, and I want to start peeling this vinyl off before the paint gets too cured, or else it might adhere and try to peel the paint off around it. And so I've already started. I've pulled these ones off. I still have quite a bit more to go. The outline, all of that tape will come off on this. And so I'm going to keep working on it and come back to video again. So I've peeled all of the vinyl letters. I've left the perimeter tape for now. I uncovered the big Coopers. The reason I left the perimeter tape, the corner tape, edges and stuff, and all the in-between, is that I just need to cover that stuff up again anyways, because the Cooper here is going to be red next. And so I'd have to redo all of it anyway. So I'm I'm gonna hope that I don't have any edge issues by leaving it on there a little longer. I think there's a few things I probably did a little differently from the real stick to this one. Again, remember this will have white corners on it here. But other than that, I think it looks pretty good. I tried to line everything up right. I know I had a little problem with my L when I was weeding my vinyl, so it got out of whack just a little bit. And looks like I made my fonts a little bit bigger. But other than that, it's pretty darn close. Lined up pretty well too. And it'll show up way better once the shaft is peeled completely and it's white. I'm trying to move this one here to give a side-by-side view. It's just not going to work. There. Cover this up and then mask off all of this stuff down here so that I can hit that with the red. And that'll be the next step. Okay, everything's masked off. The Cooper letters are exposed. Everything else is covered up nicely and edges are closed up. And I will now I'm going to go ahead and put the red on the big Cooper logos and let it dry for another hour or so and get all that masking off of there. All the painting is now done. I have to let that sit, let it dry enough to be probably about an hour or so with this paint. I've had pretty good luck with this stuff. And just what I'm saying here, this is the stuff that I was using. Multiple different colors, obviously, but the same brand, same type, same everything. I've used it on other, just project wood stuff. I'm hoping it holds up well on here. It's a good paint. I've had good luck with it in other cases. And I'm also contemplating, I may throw a clear coat on this when I'm all done. Maybe that'll help it hold up a little better over time. So we'll let that sit probably at least an hour, come back and check it, and then start peeling more of the masking material off. Okay, all the paint has come dry to the touch, and I've been able to peel all the masking and all the templating off. And now I have a fancy new red, white, and blue custom actual Cooper SuperLight SL stick. I'll bring this one over. I still will most likely replace the stripes at the top and the bottom just for a finishing touch. But I did my best to replicate everything exact as far as the patterns and the logos and all that. And the fonts and placement as best as I could of everything. And I think it turned out nice. And like I said, I'm still contemplating maybe hitting this with a clear coat, but that'll be, I'm going to wait probably a good 4 or 5 days to let that paint cure real well. And then I'll make my decision from there. So this is a fun project. Might add a little more to the end of here once I get the stickers done for down here, the decals, the rat, and down here. So it got a little bit late outside, so now I'm in the workshop. I said I was going to make these little wraps, stickers, and so I came in and worked on that a little bit. We got 2 of them. I went ahead and laminated them because they're printed vinyl. Should make it last longer, and wetness won't make it bleed or anything. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply those now.
I gotta say, I think that was a nice touch. Color blue's a little bit off, a little too light. Some of that's the gloss from the laminate though. So there's my completed stick. Compared directly with the twin I had of what it started as.
All right, just to wrap up the video, this was sort of an easy project, but I have the bonus advantage of owning my own small vinyl cutter. Overall, as far as parts go or supplies, I mean, I've got $12 worth of paint, another $12 worth of premium removable vinyl, and $7 in Frog paint tape, which I highly recommend. It holds an edge very well. You know, with a lot of waiting time in between everything, I've got maybe 2 hours into prep time on the graphics itself, because I created all those graphics from scratch using photos of the original stick graphics as a template. And then maybe 2 hours total in masking and actual spray painting time. Overall, I spread this project, I think, over 3 days, and, you know, maybe have 4.5 hours into it. So maybe not everybody can do that, but I'd say for the vinyl graphics, you can usually find a local screen shop or sign shop that has vinyl cutter and a graphic designer on hand, especially if it's a small independent type of thing, not some big franchise. Those guys will do this kind of knockoff work, you know, usually pretty affordably, especially if you're paying in cash. I just have a small vinyl cutter, and anytime I need anything big done, I have a friend that does stuff for me, usually does it pretty quickly, and high quality. So just, I'd say for that kind of thing, look around, find something in your neighborhood or your city, and use that person if you need to. Take the stick into them if you're doing a project like this, and tell them what you need. And a lot of times, like I said, it's knockoff fun work. It's not as mundane as their day-to-day work, and so a lot of those guys like this kind of challenge and opportunity to do something different. But hopefully this helped. You know, if you're going to do a project like this, I personally, I could have done this, you know, for a little bit cheaper by just buying a blank stick somewhere cheap, but I wanted an actual real Cooper stick. I just wanted to customize it to my color liking. We have a lot of red, a lot of blue, a lot of red and white, and a lot of blue and white gear, so this works really well with a lot of that. So hopefully the video helps you out and gives you the confidence to do a project like this yourself.